I'm Tulasi Menon. I drive AI strategy for Jira Service Management at Atlassian. And before this, I spent 13 years building AI products end-to-end at Microsoft. So my whole career has, way before this Gen AI stuff became cool, my whole career has been at the intersection of product, data, and AI. And I've shipped many, many different types of models to hundreds of millions of users across consumer products, enterprise products, and then I am recently just entering this whole service management industry because I think this is a very interesting time for all industries, of course, but the service industry especially, and enterprises in general, are at a great inflection point where we can see and we know what AI can do. But that gap between what AI can do and what you can prove as outcomes and business outcomes, that gap is wider than it ever was. And that's what I want to talk to all of you today, and that is the AI ROI illusion. And I think most of you know the problem exists because the pulse and everything that happened recently worked out really great. So that's what I'll cover today. Before we start, quick show of hands. How many of your companies are investing heavily in AI right now? Show of hands, please. I'm going to wait. Expected most people are. Those who are not raising their hands, I think, are not listening. Pay attention. This is important. But the second most important one, keep your hands raised if you can prove that it actually works. Like, prove it to a point where you can tell a CFO, not just, hey, it feels faster, or teams really love it, or I feel cool now, I can code now. That's not proving it. Can you prove it in terms of numbers that a CFO will take? Any hands still up? See, 2. That's awesome. Good for you. And that feels very aligned to the problem I've been hearing across customers, across companies, and what was talked about just in the previous panel as well. Most companies do struggle with this problem, right? And I want to start with stats around that problem first. So everyone's buying it, hard to prove. And there's lots of data, especially the last 1 year, because things have really gone to scale. And again, since I've been around in AI, when it used to be little pet projects, there were like cool pilots. This is the first year, the last 2025 and half 2026 is the first year where I've seen things really get real, and which is when we're starting to get these serious ROI questions, right? Lots of cool numbers on this slide. 2 that I want to call out. 1, the one at the bottom, 95%, this is from an MIT study, 95% of all generative AI products see no P&L impact, 95%. Right? The second one, the one at the top, 42%. In 2025, 42% of AI projects were shut down. That failure rate went up from 17% to 42% in a year. It's more than doubled, which is shocking, right? Especially now when things are at scale. But still, at the bottom, you'll see 89% of executives that were polled, again, global studies, have been stating that AI still makes teams and themselves feel like it's increasing speed. So they do think that AI affects speed. But speed of what? Speed towards what? And that gap of this perception or this illusion of things are getting faster, things are getting better, but that conversion drop-off to actual ROI being less than 6%, that is where that gap is, and that's what I mean when I say illusion, right? There is this illusion of ROI, but it's not proved. Let's dig one level deeper. Why does it feel that way? AI makes individuals faster, but in many cases, it makes teams worse. So most teams poll every person, and I'm sure this is true for all of you as well. It feels like you have superpowers now. You can build things, you can go code, you can look at data. But is it really affecting your team's outcomes? Right? And most work, we know this, most work, 80% of all work is done at the team level. So to unlock outcomes, the team needs to get better together. And why do I say it makes it worse? It's not just that it didn't improve it. It makes things worse because every individual is running faster without really having coordination. And so with all of, again, this is through Atlassian study, that there is a poll that clearly showed across tens of thousands of knowledge workers and executives that every team is wasting 6 hours a week, per person per week, on the coordination chaos that is happening as a direct result of the expectations and the faster outcomes of AI. What that means when you apply that to Fortune 500 level is it's resulting in a $161 billion cost, which we're calling the AI fragmentation tax. So it's not just that it's not making things better. In some cases, it's making it worse. And the other big insight for why this is happening is executives that were asked, only 24% of executives are deploying any sort of AI initiatives at a team level and outcome level, and not just at individual productivity and token maxing. So that is a key part of the next layer of the problem. The third is just, what are we measuring, right? There are three big problems. One, many people are not measuring. So the minute things are not measured, you have no idea whether the ROI is there or not. That's obvious problem number one. But problem number three, we talked about measuring the individual. The biggest one is also measuring activity, right? A lot. There has been way too much talking about, I'm burning 1 billion in tokens, yay me, I'm drying up the water in the planet. No, that makes no sense. Token maxing is not a fun thing. It is meaningless if it's not tied to outcomes. And there's been way too much emphasis on measuring people based on how many tokens they consume. And that is absolutely the wrong way to measure outcomes, because that is absolutely measuring activity. And in fact, it can have the wrong consequence of ballooning costs. So those are, again, problems with how measurement happens. And actually measuring outcomes means measuring, are decisions getting better over time? Are we making collective, stronger, more grounded decisions? Are end-to-end things shipping faster? Are end-to-end outcomes happening faster? Is revenue per employee or revenue unlock happening at a faster rate? That's what we should be measuring. It's very hard to do because those things are all disconnected, and to bring all of that together, there is a missing layer. And that missing layer is basically because AI fails because it's disconnected from how teams work today. So I love this analogy, which a customer shared with us. It's like hiring 100 brilliant consultants to come in and fix your company. But they've never talked to each other. They don't know each other. They don't know your company. They have no access to your organization's chart. They don't understand where the sources of truth are. So how do we fix that? The missing layer to all of this, at least Atlassian's point of view, is the teamwork graph. The teamwork graph is a living map of how an organization works. It includes every single Jira ticket, project, every goal, every service issue, every single check-in that exists, all of that, and it pulls that all together into a living, breathing map. And it doesn't include just Atlassian products. It includes a lot of partner and third-party products as well, like Salesforce and Google Drive and Slack and MS Teams. So it takes all of that context together and builds a 150 billion plus set of objects with billions of updates flowing in every single day. So that becomes then the context layer, right? And what do we build on top of that context layer? Is the intelligence layer. So Rovo, at least in Atlassian's case, is our flagship AI. It sits on top of the teamwork graph. And that's how actually the intelligence layer is more powerful. It's more useful because it actually understands what's happening at real time in your organization. And our CEO, Mike Cannon-Brookes, said it really, really nicely. Intelligence is the engine, but context is the fuel that powers that engine. And this is very, very important, and because we've actually seen this to be true. When intelligence and Rovo is powered with the teamwork graph, it becomes 44% more accurate at 48% less cost. So much higher quality at half the cost. So that's why this context is the critical layer. And so again, all of what I just said, it's not just theory, like, hey, if we did this and if we use teamwork graph, we've actually been able to see this live in production, again, only in the last 5-6 months or so. Again, this is not for everybody because AI adoption at scale, seriously, is not yet at a point where we can put a check mark and just say it's done. We know how to solve this. But we've been able to see proof in Atlassian customers in certain segments if they're outdone, if the outcomes are measured the right way, if we build products the right way. So we have seen outcomes at the level like, issues, like 25% more issues are resolved because of customers who are able to adopt AI well, who've integrated AI well into their systems. Or resolution time is faster. We've seen some customers who've actually got 10x improvement in end-to-end software deployment just because they were able to use that combination of AI and the teamwork graph together. So those are actual outcomes, and we've seen this. It is happening, not widespread, it's in pockets, but we know it's there. The possibility for making it real is very much production, and it's very real and true. So how does this apply for each of you as leaders? How do you take this back? I want to leave you with a framework to think about as you go back to work after this. three layers of AI proof, right? One, we talked a little bit about this, it's individual productivity. That's where most people start and most people end, is at this individual productivity layer. It's fine. These are table stakes. These are important. They're necessary, but not sufficient. And the second, that's why we talked about all of the activity, right? The second layer is the team level, the unlock. And this is when you'll start seeing some outcomes. You'll start seeing, okay, look, this is the boundary of my team. Here's my data governance. Here is my AI quality metrics. Here's the outcome that I want. And then let it do a little bit more assistive, human plus AI together, working together within a team. And that's when the team unlock happens and you start seeing some ROI in terms of outcomes. And the third layer, which is really hard to do, is when you actually get true business outcomes that hit P&L. And this is when you almost want to rethink your system to say, if you could completely look at your workflow and say, what is the one thing that I want to do proactively, end-to-end, autonomously? And how do I make that happen where the AI agent is the main operator and human is the guide? How do I set things up to make that happen? And a good example is just like, how do I, before anything goes to ship, how do I find what risks could be there in a piece of code, fix it, address it, ship it? Or even before a customer files a ticket or anything, identify a problem, solve the problem, all before a customer files a ticket or raises an issue. Right? Those are some examples where we actually know that this is possible, but how do you build the system around it to make that possible? And that's when you get to true organization level productivity. So start thinking about those three layers. And just because this is quick, so I want to leave you with 3 questions as you leave. So if you forget everything else, remember those 3 layers. But go back as an action item for you about how have you deployed AI today, right? With your teams. Go back, really ask some hard questions to yourself and your team. 1, do you have success metrics? Are you just measuring activity? What are your success metrics even? And have you defined them well? Take a hard look at them and make sure you have those before approval, before shipping. I've seen way too many teams who ship things without quality gates, without outcomes in mind. 2, invest in context. Look at actually what's happening on the ground in your AI projects today. Are they connected? Are they actually based on some layer of context? Or are they sitting in silos and islands which are not talking to each other? Ask that question, fix that problem. And number 3, rethink that layers that I told you about. Look at truly what problem are you solving. Most companies, most teams are stuck at layer 1. Think about what layer are you at today. Move from task to team to business. And really think about the big question. What is that one end-to-end workflow that you wish you could, that the true problem you're trying to solve, right, to do revenue unlock? What is that one end-to-end workflow that you wish you could have that could be proactive and autonomous end-to-end? And how do you work towards getting there? Those 3 questions are what I want to leave you with.